What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another weekly GSD Mode podcast interview where every single week I interview top entrepreneurs, top real estate professionals, and strip top badasses out there dominating their spaces. These are people choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there, create big, amazing, epic lives for themselves, their families, as well as have a big impact on others. And today, guys, we got another rockstar guest here on the show. This is a good friend of mine, Kim Barber. And she breaks down in this podcast a new lead generation strategy, a new niche that she discovered about a year ago that's been exploding her business. So you guys check this out. In 2019, with just this one lead source, we're not talking about the overall business that her and her team did. This is just with this one lead source. Last year, she did 177,000 of net income that came in from this one lead source with zero ad spend, right? And this year in 2020, she is on track to do over 20 million in gross volume sales just from this one lead source. That's not counting the rest of the business that they do with the traditional business and so forth, right? And then about 6 weeks ago or so, once I discovered, because I'm good friends with Kim, and once I discovered the success that she was having with this lead source, I had her fly down to my team here in Phoenix, Arizona, had her and her husband fly down and teach us this strategy. In the first 5 days, we put one deal under contract, right? In the first 30 days, we put 4 deals under contract with zero ad spend. So this is something that I'm massively scaling up in my own team and see as a massive new leg of our business. All right, so guys, before we jump into this interview where Kim breaks all of this down, make sure that you go check out 41 Tips with joshuasmith.com. These are 41 weekly coaching tips delivered to your email box each and every single week. There's no theory in these tips. These are 100% proven effective strategies that I implement and have implemented over the years in my real estate business that have helped me become one of the top realtors and team leaders on the planet. There's nothing being sold. There's no BS in these. There's no theory. They're 100% free, just like this podcast. This is just great information that I'm here to deliver to you guys to help you massively grow your real estate business and continue kicking ass. Also, if you are looking for the new website and CRM provider, if you're looking for the most effective, affordable system that exists in the industry, make sure to check out perfectstormnow.com. You guys, this is the website and CRM that I use and have in my own business that helps us generate thousands of leads each and every month, and most importantly, allows us to convert those leads. It helps us work all of our clients. We do our transaction management, everything through this one platform, and allows us to continue to grow our business each and every month. So you can check us that system out at perfectstormnow.com. You can book a 100% zero pressure free demo, no hassle, no obligation, pressure free demo, so you can learn about the system, see if it's a fit for you. It's definitely a fit for me and helps my business to go out there and sell hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homes each and every year. So check it out, perfectstormnow.com. All right, you guys, let's jump on in to Kim Barber's interview where she breaks down this epic, amazing strategy. What's up, Kim? So stoked to have you here on the podcast, dude.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited. Big fan of yours. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. And with these kind of turbulent times that we're in, and I know that these interviews are evergreen and out there forever. And, but I know a lot of people are going to be watching this as we're right in the middle of the coronavirus. And the cool thing I don't want to say the cool thing about the coronavirus, like there's nothing cool about it. But what I mean about you and I talking, and this is why I was so excited to get you on the podcast, is like you and I have been through crises and shifts before, right? If we know how to move, shift, and adapt, and and the crisis may have a different label, if you will, in front of it, right? Whatever you want to call it, the Great Recession or the worst housing crash of recorded history, or the coronavirus and the economic blowback of this is going to be exponentially worse than the virus itself, right? But it ends up like the how you shift, move, and adapt ends up being the same thing, right? So before we get, because I know that you have, I know you really well on a personal level. We're good friends, right? And I know how you've adapted your business, through all these times, and also right now very quickly to set your business up where you're fully recession proof, if you will. But before we get into all those things that you're doing today, I'm always intrigued in our guests' journeys that led them to real estate in the first place. So what led you to real estate and being a real estate agent? If you can just run the clocks and kind of give us a little background on you.
Yeah, you bet. I come from a medical family. My dad's a doctor, my aunts are all nurses, and it's just kind of what you do. So I went to school and didn't really think about it and got my nursing degree and hated it with the passion of 1,000 fires. So I remember I came home from work one night and I was really having a hard time. I'm like, oh, I have to go back tomorrow and it's not for me and I hate every minute of it. And Ben's like, oh, just quit and do something else. And I'm like, I don't think grown-ups do that. Like I paid for college to get this to like what I don't know what you're saying right now. And so yeah, so I did. So I took a little, this was maybe 11 or 12 years ago. Took a little hiatus, and Ben, for those of you who don't know, my husband, Ben Barber, he worked in REO and he's kind of a wizard in that field, but he was working at Green River Capital at the time. And so I went and took a temp job over there doing code violations and paperwork and just fell in love with real estate. And I've been doing it ever since. I worked on, during the recession, I was the manager over the loss mitigation department for all the clients we had for Credit Suisse. So Bank of America, FHA, VA, all of them. We serviced a lot of their properties and I was trying to prevent the foreclosures. And then once they did get foreclosed, Ben would liquidate them. So it was kind of like an opposite end of the coin. But yeah, I just loved it. And then I moved over we moved to Texas about 6 or 7 years ago. And I was over the mortgage bankruptcy department over there for JP Morgan Chase. I was an executive over there. My husband was the operational director at VA at an outsourcer. And then we just decided we want to just throw all of our eggs in one basket and come and be full-time agents. And we talked about it for a long time. We wanted to do it for a really long time. We knew that's where our passion was and where our skills were. And finally, the tipping point, my son, who was having a really hard time in his daycare, was just really struggling. I was missing so much work. I'd get called every single day. And so I took him to this new daycare, like this Disneyland of daycares, right down the street. I mean, it had like a commercial kitchen that was toddler size where they did their math, and 20,000 gallon aquarium where they did their science. I mean, this was amazing. So I pick up my 3-year-old son, and for the first time in months, he's not crying. He's happy. He had a great day. He can't wait to go back. I'm thrilled. So me and Ben sit down with the director to go over, what it costs and everything. And I remember as soon as she said the numbers, we didn't even look at each other. We got back in the car. I put my 1-year-old in, my 3-year-old in, and I was 8 months pregnant at the time. Ben was fumbling with the keys, and I was like, "Hon, are you okay?" And he's like, "No, I'm not. How the fuck is it okay that we make this much money at an executive level and I can't afford to send my son to the daycare that I want to send him to?" And it was a really eye-opening moment because we really had hit our caps. I was the assistant vice president. He was the operational director. Outside of maybe 10 or 15 years down the road, some big promotion, we kind of maxed out on the money that we could make. And so I was 8.5 months pregnant, 1 3-year-old. We got in the car. We drove back to Utah from Texas. And like, okay, we're either going to be broke living in my mom's basement, or we're going to make it big and we're going to do everything we always dreamed of doing. Luckily, it was the latter one, but yeah, that's kind of how we got into being full-time agents.
Yeah, and you guys, you just ripped the Band-Aid off too, right? Like when you jumped into real estate, like you guys, it was just like, hey man, like we're gonna like sink or swim. You burn the
go big or go home. Yeah. No plan B, no back door. You either do it or you crash and burn with all the fire.
Yeah, and obviously, if somebody reached out to me and they asked if I would recommend, like maybe they had a job and were transitioning to real estate, right? Like I guess when I look at this, the responsible answer for me would be, oh, well, keep the job, make this your side hustle, whatever. But for a lot of people, man, unless, I don't want to say for a lot of people, I mean, I was the same as you. I didn't quit my job. I was fired from my job as soon as they found out I was getting my real estate license, because I was a manager of a health club, and they knew what I was up to. And I once they found out, I came clean. I didn't understand. I wasn't an entrepreneur, right. So I didn't understand the damage that would do to their company, and I respected the owner. And so as soon as he explained to me, I was like, yeah, you're right. I was using you as a stepping stone, and that's my plan. And so I was kind of, forcing that. But when your back's against the wall like that, man, holy crap. Like you just make things happen, and you didn't have a choice, because now you have 2 kids, third on the way, probably not get your real estate license.
6 days after we got to Utah, I delivered. And then me and Ben were both working 90 hours a week. All the kids were in full-time daycare. I had a full-time nanny. My sister would babysit the kids on the weekends. And we literally all day, every day, from about 6 a.m. until about midnight, all day, every day, we're like, we can see our kids when they grow up, but for now, like, we need to feed them. So we're gonna work and we're gonna dig in and put our heads down. And it was really rough for a lot of months until, you know, your pipeline starts to get those closings and stuff. And then it was amazing. It was worth all of the hardships and all the crap. But man, it was, everyone that's done this full time knows all the hurdles and stuff, but it's good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, love it. You know, people always talk about this word balance, and you know, I mean, I'm not a fan of the word, you know, right? There's kind of a counterbalance that needs to happen, and but it's like there's a tight place and time for balance, you know, right? But there's also a place and time for, hey man, like we got to leave the cave to feed our family.
Mm-hmm.
I don't deserve to come back to the cave unless I have some freaking food. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
right? Like
right.
there is that time as well. And I love that you guys leveled up, and it's cool that you guys were on the same page, you know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You know, mentally and with the work ethic. And so speaking of that though, when you jumped in, because those first couple years are so pivotal, you know, right? Like we know the statistics, 90% of agents drop out in the first 3 years because they're not willing to work 90 hours a week
Right,
like you and Ben were. They're
right.
not willing, you know. But what did you do, you know, that first year, let's say, because you guys had a lot of success
Yeah,
since day one. Like you guys
yeah,
have
yeah.
just
We had
climbed and
really,
climbed and
yeah.
climbed.
Ben was rookie of the year his first year with 53 closings, and it was awesome. And I mean, it's kind of like what you said. Like, have you ever heard the term, like, why does a fire dance work?
What is it? What?
Do you know what a fire dance is, like from the Bible?
Uh-uh.
Yeah, so they would do this, like these, yeah, like witch doctors, right, would
Okay.
come and charge you money and get beads, and they would do a fire dance and dance and dance and dance. Oh no, sorry, a rain dance.
Okay. Yep.
Scratch that out. Okay. Yeah. And they would do this thing to make it rain, right? So the saying is, why does a rain dance always work? Because you just keep dancing until it rains. Like eventually it's gonna freaking rain, right? If you just like keep at it, like it's gonna happen. And so that's basically what we did. We said that. We said there's no other way, there's no other option. So we bought some courses and we did some trainings. We did your boot camp, which was awesome. We followed everything. We became students of real estate. We read all the books, we followed all the professionals, and just kind of dug in. We did a lot of different things at first. Sphere of influence, we did open houses. I did a lot of door knocking, cold calling, FISBOs, expireds, mailers, magazines. We had a Google search expert who's supposed to, you know, whatever, pop our name to the top of the page with anybody ever searched anything ever, whatever. But we did a lot of different things. The one thing that we did that was very lucrative at first was we bought lead ads, which we liked. We did a lot with realtor.com, a few with Zillow and YP and OpCity and a couple of other places, but realtor.com was kind of our big one. And it was, like I said, it was good and the leads were good, but the problem is that you have to sign a contract with every zip code that you buy. And so we were looking at, because we were at a point at one time we were spending $8,000-9,000 a month on realtor.com leads, which is fine because we were, you know, getting the return that we wanted and everything. But we looked at it and we're like, if anything happens, you know, knock on wood, we can't be in a 12 or 24 month contract for almost $10,000 a month. You know, if we have a bad month or whatever, like it just isn't feasible. So Ben became an expert on Facebook lead ads. He kind of wizarded that thing, and I experimented with a different thing. I was using Sales Rabbit to do door knocking. I was using a computer system to call people who had lived in the house for longer than 10 years. They had a senior in high school and like, you know, different demographics and things. And finally we're going along, we're doing well. And I had this one client, her name was Gina. And I worked with her close to a year and a half. I worked with her to get her credit rebuilt. She would call me every week and update me on every single payment she's made, everything she's done. So me and her and the lender worked pretty closely together for a long time. Finally, they find a house a year and a half later, go under contract. They're so excited. It's a family of 5 living in her mom's basement with 13 people in this 4-bedroom house. So they're like ecstatic, so excited. Been married for 13 years, never lived in a single family home. So it's 5 days before closing and I get a call from the lender and he's like, hey, I'm so sorry. Something popped up on their credit and they were no longer eligible for the loan. And I was like, my heart just broke. But so I called Gina, we went over everything, and I was so invested in this, not because of the paycheck, but I mean, because I got to know their family. I'd really gotten to see the level of excitement and like what a life-changing thing that was to a family. So I exhausted every resource I had. I called hard money lenders to see if they would do short-term lending and then get financing in the next 6 months. I called 3 other lenders that I worked with to see if maybe there was a loophole that they could get them approved. I called some investors that I know that I'm like, hey, do you want to buy a rental house? And I already have renters for you. I tried everything to get them in, and there was just no way. And it was a shame because they made really good money. They were good renters. They had no criminal history, everything lined up, but they just couldn't get that loan. So I had remembered hearing about a program a while ago that I went to a course on, and I used it. It's called, I don't know, have you ever heard of Home Partners of America? Have you heard of them? Okay.
Well, because of you.
Oh, because of me. Okay.
That's it.
Yeah. When I ask people if they've heard of Home Partners, they either have and they're raving fans and they're using it and it's awesome, or they don't know how to use it, or they've never heard about it. But it always kind of seems to be a little, that's a little bit familiar. That works. But yeah, so I went back and I had her apply through Home Partners. And what Home Partners does, so they're a nationwide investment firm. They're in about 40 different metros, in 17 different states. They own over 16,000 properties. And what they do is, if I find an approved resident, right, and to get approved as a resident for Home Partner is significantly easier than it is for any other loan, even the most lax loan you can ever find, right? Like the credit score needs to be an average of 550 and income 45,000 or more. Like it's pretty conservative as far as, not conservative, sorry. It's pretty lax as far as what they'll allow. So I had them apply, they got approved. Home Partners came in, paid cash for this house that was listed on the MLS. We closed. Gina and her family moved into the home, rented it from Home Partners for 8 months, and then they bought it back from Home Partners. So basically what happened was I found a resident for a rental house. They found the rental house. I have Home Partners come in, pay cash for the property. I get paid 100% of my BAC up front, and I'm done. And if Gina buys the house, I'm super happy for them. And if she doesn't, which has happened before also, then I help them find another house, and it's no harm, no foul. So it's kind of the best of both worlds as far as that goes.
Yeah. I mean, it's such an amazing program because you've got this client of yours, right? And doing the past work that you did, right? When you're trying to save people in their homes, and to have the success that you had in that industry, like you can't have that kind of success unless you have a lot of empathy and compassion for other people. And as you mentioned, it wasn't the commission. It was that your heart was breaking for this family, but you were able to still, it was just another
Don't tell anybody I have a heart. It'll give you the reputation.
So but it's another vehicle to help them accomplish their goals.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, all right. So, and how long ago was this? But was this like a year ago?
That was about a year and a half ago. So she was the first closing that I had with Home Partners. Was just over a year and a half ago.
Yeah. So, because since then, like a light bulb just went off for you, and
dude,
you guys were able to drop.
You've had the big, huge epiphanies and the mind blows and all that stuff. But it was so interesting because as soon as she got approved and we were under contract on that house, and the only problem was we were closing a few days later. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, I can't explain the feeling when I thought back, and within about 5 seconds, without even looking at my pipeline or going through my CRM, about 12 to 15 names popped into my head right away of all the people over the last few years that I lost, right? There were a few points shy of their credit, or they weren't ready to buy yet because they just graduated medical school. They don't know where their residency is, or they don't have the down payment for a home, or they're in school and they're not sure where they're going to, get a job afterwards. I mean, there's so many scenarios where there's good families that make good money that would just die to be in a single family home, and for one reason or another just can't qualify for a loan. I had the sweetest family just a couple of weeks ago who their son was diagnosed with a really rare spinal disorder, so they had a medical bankruptcy. So because of the medical bankruptcy, they're not able to buy a home, and they have 5 kids, and right now they're in a 3-bedroom apartment paying almost $2,000. And when I had her apply for the program and kind of explained it to her, she was in tears. And I'm like, if I can do that for somebody and make money along the way and make Home Partners money along the way, and it's a win-win for all sides, like, it has been the most, this sounds super super cheesy, but it's been the most rewarding part of my real estate career since I did loss mitigation, because there are just people out there that have just had, like, just shit happens, you know, like I actually call the Home Partners program the Life Happens program. So if there is somebody that has a, you know, is it doesn't have perfect credit or doesn't quite meet the mold, then there's still an option for them. And if you think about it, that's where most of the market is. Like, I don't know the numbers, but the amount of people that are ready, willing, and able to buy right now, I would be shocked if it was over, you know, a couple percentage points or whatever. But there are a lot of people that are not ready for a loan, but they want to be in a home. And this is kind of picking up all of those people that are slipping through the cracks. And it's been really awesome. So at first what I did is I went back and I called through my pipeline through all the people that I had lost. And it made me crazy because most of them had like already bought something, or they, you know, something. But when I saw the possibilities of what this program could do, I was floored. And even the volume that I'm doing now, I didn't even expect it to be this crazy. Like I was really thinking that maybe I'd get an extra 1 or 2 a month. It would be amazing. And the volume that I'm doing now and the level that we're at right now is something that I mean, even with how excited I was and the potential that I saw with it, I never thought it would be as lucrative and as big as what it is now.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys, last time I heard you were on pace to do something like 15 or 20 million this year.
Yeah.
Just this program, not counting your other business.
No, just with this program. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, and we'll go a little bit deeper into this, because when you first told me about the program, I kind of didn't get it. I'm like, why not just help people with rentals in it? But then, you know, you one of my top agents on my team reached out to you, and you guys had trained them on how to do this. So I've been able to see it firsthand, and they put 3 deals under contract in 30 days. Right, the first one they put under contract in 5 days, and 5
days right now, yeah.
You know, they have another 2, and a bunch of. I mean, it's like every day they have another couple.
I know.
Pipe. And the cool thing is he's not having to do anything different, you know, which we'll get into, you know, with that. But then this light bulb goes off, and I think that just like when you first were explaining this program, it didn't click until like the problem came up with your client. You know, not just click. I think it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around of how does this really work? Why not just go help them find a rentals? You know, but you had to figure out how to crack the code, because how long did you say it was until your second closing?
Well, I spent well, my husband and my team was very patient, because I basically did nothing except for study this program and test run different posts and ads and different kind of marketing things for months. So I think my next one was 5 months later. So after Gina closed, so from her closing date to my next closing date was 5 months. So I consistently every day, every week, you know, worked on the program, trying to learn it, trying to figure it out. Because when I went through Gina's, like, and for hers, I'd have jumped through 1,000 hoops, hell or high water, whatever. But it was a little bit trickier that closing was a little bit more trickier than a traditional closing, just because it was new, different processes, different paperwork, you know, a few different hoops to jump through. But totally worth it, totally awesome, and I knew what it could do. And after, so 5 months was the second closing, and then the next closing after that was January of 2019. So I had 1 in January, I had 1 in February, none in March. And then April is where it really started to just pick up. I had 2 in April, and it's not like there was an exact moment where I'm like, ding, you know, but it was really within about a day or two where I'm like, dude, I know exactly what to say on the phone. I know exactly what ads to run. I know exactly where to post. Like, it was the most rewarding thing that I finally, after spinning my wheels, you know, had kind of reached this point. So after April, we did 2 in April, and then quarter 3 of 2019, I closed 8. In quarter 4, I closed 10. And then in 2020, so far, we're not done with quarter 3, and I've already closed 11. So I'm on track. I'm on track to close. Yeah, like you were saying, but we're hoping to close for $20 million. We're at $3.5 million right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're not even done with the first quarter of 2020.
Right. I know. There's
not counting, because you guys. Yeah, and you have, you have your a team, and you're doing a lot of business outside of this too. This is just an
Right,
additional
right.
leg of the business. And what's so cool is you don't, like, right now, especially what we're experiencing at a time. I mean, we're recording this. I don't know exactly the date it'll be released, but it's March 20th. So we're like exactly a week into where President Trump called the
Uh,
quarantine recommendation, or whatever you want to
mhm.
call it, through this. And like during this time, like, you don't want to be stuck in those contracts. The realtor.com contract
Oh,
paying
I'm
70.
so grateful. I'm so happy we're not in those.
And
Uh,
what's so cool about this is, I mean, for the most part, it's $0 ad spend,
Zero.
right? I mean, from what you told me, it's posts on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, I mean, other places that you're
Yeah,
having a lot of success with.
exactly.
And it solves a problem for such a big percentage of the consumer that isn't ready to maybe buy right now, but everybody needs a place to live, right? That and again, when I first was explained, I didn't quite understand the value of it, because I'm like, why don't they just rent, right? But this allows, I think what's so epic about it is, allows the potential renter, whatever you want to call them, potential owner of the home, right? So let's just call them the renter, to go pick out the home that they want. But these are homes for sale, right? Because like when we get on the MLS, there's really not a lot of great rentals out there,
Right, right.
right? So it opens up the pool for it. But they get to go pick out the location, the schools, like all of that, of exactly what they want. And then they have, what did you say, 5 years to opportunity to buy it in 5 years, but then they don't have to buy it if they don't want to.
Right. So how the program works as far as the tenant is concerned is they have it's basically just a rental. None of the rent goes towards the purchase price. Look at it like just a rental, but they have the option to buy at any time. So how it works for them is their only commitment to Home Partners is to a 12-month lease. At the end of that 12 months, they can vacate, get their full deposit back. They can extend their lease yearly for up to 5 years, or if they do decide to buy, they can buy the home at any time during their occupancy. So it's really nice, but it's a win-win. And I know you were talking about the coronavirus, the elections coming up. There's a lot of uncertain waters. We had an earthquake here in Utah that freaked everyone out yesterday. So just uncertain times, and I don't want to say it's exciting. That's kind of that's probably not very kosher, but it's nice to know that my business is safe and my family's financial future is safe, because this is the type of business and this is the type of program that you can work through and still really meet your financial goals during any sort of recession or lapse or anything, because these guys are going to keep. I mean, they were around during the recession. They did the same thing. They're going to
during the
keep
recession.
buying houses. Yeah, I know. So all the people, I have a handful of qualified buyers right now that are going traditional that have all stopped looking. So they want to see what's going to happen with the market, whatever. My rent to own leads, I have 3 appointments with 3 of them tonight, because they don't care what is happening with the market. They don't care what's going to crash. They need a home. If they do decide to buy it, great. If not, it's just like any other rental. They got to pick the home. So.
Yeah, love it. So it's this amazing, epic program. But if you don't know the right ways to do it, because I've been on their website, and it's kind of hard to navigate and figure out, like, what is this and how do you have success with this? And they have, a lot of agents throughout in their different marketplaces that have been trying to send them deals. But I mean, most aren't having the success that you have. I know, like, you're one of their top, and soon to be probably the top agent that's ever been with the company, or partner with them, because you're just representing them as an investor. You don't work for them. They're just a cash investor buyer.
I went online to their website. I registered myself as an agent. I've done everything myself. So it's not something where it's like an elite squad where you can't get in. Anybody can go in and register as a registered agent with them. But yeah, that's the trick though, is really mastering the process. And then that's why it took me so long to get from my first deal to my second, from my second to my third. But now they're flowing.
So before we get into, because I want to cover some, objections that agents that have worked with Home Partners of America have had, and the resistance that they've had, and the difference of you creating massive success versus these other agents that just haven't been able to create that success. But before that, man, I want to get into kind of how your mindset was, because it was like almost a year for you to really crack the code with it.
It was, yeah. It was almost a year.
Yeah, but you were certain that, hey, I know that we're onto something here. I know this can be massive. But most people aren't willing to stick with a problem for a year to solve it.
Right.
Like what did you do during that year? How did because like you mentioned before, you're like my team, thank God they supported me through this, but like your team's like, all right, dude, like a year's a
Well,
long time.
yeah, they were so great because they would do all my showings. They would schedule everything. Ben would go and take my clients out because I really just made it a study that I was going to master this and I was going to maximize the potential that I saw in this. And I mean, luckily it worked, but yeah, they picked up a lot of slack while I was spending all my time figuring this out. But it's been good, obviously worth it.
Yeah. And what's so cool and what I love about it is this is why I never try to reinvent the wheel or figure things out on my own. I took you a year to figure this out. And then, my top husband and wife team on my team, Armando and Alika, reached out to you to ask for some training on this.
Yeah.
But within 5 days, they get the first one on contract, 3 now within 30 days. And they're just like, dude, like probably that same kind of aha moment.
Yes,
They're like, holy crap, this is going to be a game changer. But they didn't have to go through that year. Like you already know what to do. Like, they were just able to plug into it. So, but then going back to the mindset thing, like, because I'm sure that there was times where you're like, man, maybe I should quit this. Maybe I'm sure that there's maybe some doubt at certain times, or maybe there wasn't, but to stick with a problem for a year to solve it, that's very rare that people will do that. How did you do that? And just maybe not listen to the noise or sometimes that inner chatter in our head and just stay focused.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of different things. I mean, I would do a lot of the, the meditating and programs and things to kind of train health and mindset. But the biggest thing is it's a complete paradigm shift from what we're used to doing. So because everybody that we work with, they're either cash investors or they're ready, willing, and able buyers. They're already pre-qualified for a loan. We don't hit anybody else, right? So I do you ever go fishing? Do you fish?
Mm-mm. I mean, I have fished before, but I don't enjoy.
All right. Okay. So my family, we go up to Alaska every year. We go fishing on the Russian River, right? And we go the first part of July, and it's amazing. Obviously, they're famous for their fishing, but we're not the first geniuses that thought of this great idea to go fishing in Alaska. So they sell over 500,000 licenses every summer in Alaska. So when we would go down to the Russian River, it is literally, I mean, it's shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow. They call it combat fishing. They literally call it combat fishing because it's like fighting just to get a freaking spot on the bank to cast your line. And then lines are crossing and you're fighting over fish. It's a whole issue. And I last time we were down there, I looked down like up and down the river and I was just claustrophobic and I was annoyed and we're all fighting over the same resource. And so I'm like, there's got to be a better way. There's no way this is the only way for me to bring home my 2 coolers of fish. And so I asked around, did a little research, and we found a local guy who charters boats under the ocean for a really reasonable price. So he actually chartered a boat for us for the day, went out on the ocean where nobody was around. It was awesome. And we went halibut fishing and we maxed out our license tags in 1 day. And it was such a good feeling. It's like there's so much more out there that nobody's utilizing and nobody's doing. And that's kind of how I felt about this program, where, the people that aren't qualified for a loan right now or aren't ready to buy or don't want to. Millennials, there's a lot of stats right now about millennials that have no desire to buy. And so it's a nice way to help all of these people and reach your financial goals at the same time by utilizing this relatively untapped program in a relatively untapped market. That's the blue ocean fishing. That's going out on the sea instead of combat fishing on the river. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. And the other component that I love about this is when we look at like just an enjoyment and a culture aspect of our teams or ourselves and our enjoyment in the business, right? Because your client truly is Home Partners of America. That's the cash buyer. And from what you told me, they're not like your typical investor that's trying to get these properties 30% under market. Like they're paying market value. So now you're able to go in there, competitive cash offer, make full price offers at times. But then you are representing, if you will, the tenant and on the showing process, right? But like they're super stoked, super excited, super grateful. It's not sometimes that dealing with that frustrated buyer seller.
Oh yeah.
And it can be a whole different, process, right?
Yeah, and that's one thing that I really have genuinely enjoyed about this different avenue of real estate is the people you're helping, as far as the tenants get into these homes from home partners, are a completely different species. They're amazing. They're grateful. They get back to you. They follow up. They respond. I kind of, the only thing I really struggled with in real estate previously was I felt like I was annoying my sphere of influence by always, I didn't want to be the guy that showed up and like, oh great, Kim's gonna try and make us buy a house or sell a house, and that was a little rough. And I had a really hard time. I mean, I would be on the phone sometimes 3, 4, 5 hours doing cold calls on Mojo and not even get a single person. Got hung up on a lot, got yelled at a lot. I would have people that would click on an ad that I had put up, and then when I call them, they yell at me. I'm like, well, no, you gave me your number, so I don't know. But then we did this, so there's that aspect of it that we've all felt. Anybody that's been in this industry longer than 5 minutes has felt the pain, right? Of the boiling hot days and the door knocks, or the cold calls, or the sphere of influence, or any of it. But the best thing about this program is like Armando, for example, right? Everyone knows who Armando is. When we were sitting and working with him and training him, his first 4 calls that he made, because we did a post. I showed him how to do a post. We ran that post Friday night. It was February 14th, Friday night. The next day we came in at about 10 in the morning. He had a handful of leads, and he called the first 4. Every single one of them answered. I believe they went and took out 2 of them, and then they got a contract about 4 days later. So I mean, it's one of those things where I wouldn't preach about it, and I wouldn't make these grandiose promises if I haven't seen it for myself and for other people that I've helped along with the program too. Like, it's a duplicatable process. Like, I'm an average person, I'm pretty basic, nothing special about me, average skill set. There's nothing about me that made the program work. It's the program that makes the program work, which is really awesome. It's been helpful for my team. It was helpful for Armando and Alika. There's no specific traits you have to have. It just kind of rolls, and it's awesome.
Yeah. And what I love about it, so Armando, he's actually here behind this wall calling right now, because they're a husband and wife team in my team.
Yeah.
And so Armando is really the ISA role, and then his wife works with the clients. And so I hear him all day long, every day, all day dialing, and they do a lot of Facebook ads for their regular traditional business, not even counting this program, but it's just another option, right? In addition to the leads they're running specifically for like the rent to own leads, but it's because most calls, it's, oh, we're not ready, we're renting right now, we don't know when, right? So I'm hearing them all day.
My brother-in-law's next door neighbor's cousin is an agent, and we're going to work with him.
Yep. But I hear them all. Yeah. We also have this great this great, amazing rent to own option. If that's something that you'd like, more information on, and it's, just allows so many more in-depth conversations, so many more families to help when you're doing this. So let's kind of jump into the objections, right? So if anybody's listening to this that maybe knows of Home Partners America, or maybe is with them currently, which we have some good mutual friends, I think, that even provided some of these objections for you. Yeah. And these were objections that you had provided me that are most common, because you have agents from all over the country reaching out to you to help them, with this. So I'm just going to, we'll just kind of hit on each one. But one of the main objections that I know you get a lot of, and again, these are coming from you, so they're not just objections I pull out my ass, right? These are true objections, because you're training agents on this and helping agents through the program. But one of those is it takes too long to get corporate offers, right? Because you do have to get the offer through the investor, Home Partners of America, and go through that. How would you handle that objection, or what is your experience different with that?
So this is the whole different beast. This isn't a relocation company. It's not a bank. It's not a foreclosure. This is completely different. So one of the reasons why I really do like Home Partners, and why I feel like it was worth the time and effort to get where I am, is because they're a good company. They're good to work for. The offers department doesn't take long at all to get offers. I'll get offers back within hours, actually, of submitting a packet. They're not like REO outsourcers. They're not like short sales. Their offer department is open 7 days a week, from bright and early in the morning until past sundown. And if the property is submitted correctly the first time, you're guaranteed to get an offer within 2 to 3 hours. So I don't know, can't ask for more than that.
Yeah. So then would you say then, something you just said there, I think could be very powerful of if the offer's submitted correctly the first time,
Right.
then we're getting immediate instant, within 2 to 3 hours. So those that are maybe have experience with Home Partners America that it did take forever, is that really them just not following instructions? Because I know us as real estate agents and being salespeople, sometimes we're not the best with following instructions.
Every single time that I've ever had that problem, and I've again through trial and error, I've lost a lot of offers, I've lost a lot of clients, but once I do learn the process and do get it submitted, like I said, correctly, and that's something where it's just a learning curve, but you get over that little hurdle, and then sky's the limit. So
Yep, love it. So then, just to go through a few other these, I know we already covered lowball offers before, earlier in the podcast, but they're submitting. I mean, what's your experience with that? I mean, are they coming at market value? I think you've said before too to me that they've even beaten out and went above before.
absolutely. Yep. So they're really good about they trust their agents, right? Once you're an agent that they work with, they get to know you, they trust you. They're going to trust your valuations. They're going to trust your market analysis. And so I submit it and I tell them exactly where they need to be a lot of times to win the offer. I let them know there's multiple offers, when they need to have it back, what they need to come in at. And I would say 9 times out of 10, they come in very, very strong. They come in at or above purchase price, and everything else around it is gravy, right? A cash close, no appraisal contingency, no home to sale, obviously, no closing costs. It's just such a nice, clean offer because they come in so strong. I would say more often than not, probably 4 out of 5 times I submit an offer, I win the offer, even when it's in a multiple offer situation.
Yep, love it. So then, what's closing time frame look like? Are they because it's a cash investor offer? I mean, can they close quicker than a 30-day close, or is it something that takes more time?
Yeah, so they typically close within about 25 to 28 days is their average, and you can adjust that slightly based on what your specific circumstances are, but generally speaking, that's the close time frame.
Yeah. So then, I know one of the objections that again, these are that you provided that agents are always
Mm-hmm.
hitting you with, but is that, hey, no seller will consider rent to own.
I thought that exact same thing too, that that the sellers are going to have a hard time. I don't want to battle with it. It's an uphill battle. You never win. But for the sellers, it doesn't matter. It's a cash offer. Whatever Home Partners does with that, whoever they lease it to, if they hold it, if the tenants buy it, it doesn't matter. When I call the agent and tell them I'm sending over an offer, I say, hey, I'm sending over a cash offer. Here's all the perks. Here's the benefits. Here's the offer. Let me know if you have any questions. Right. And so yeah, again, whatever Home Partners does with it is besides the point. I get paid my 100% of my BAC at the closing table. And again, I've had probably about half of the clients that I've closed with are actually buying the home that I help them with, and the other half are waiting till they get ready for loans and they're going to buy something else, and then it'll be my second closing with the same clients. It's another win, so I will take it all day.
Love it. So then, I mean, with the seller, like, do they even need to know that this is a rent to own program? I mean, all they need to know is, hey, you have a cash investor,
cash buyer,
you got
right?
a cash
Exactly.
offer in hand. Like
Mm-hmm.
the rent to own is between the new Home Partners America and the tenants. So that
Exactly.
I mean,
I never get into that. I never get into that and explain it, and it's just not worth the explanation. But yeah, the cash offer is pretty easy pill to swallow.
now, how, like, when you work with, like, I've done a lot of business with Open Door, being kind of in the mecca of in Arizona where they started, and we're kind of the, it's like Brazil started their iBuyer program, and
Right.
fastest growing metro in the country. Plus we have
Mm-hmm.
50,000
Yep.
agents out here. It's like the testing ground for everything. And, like Open Door, will, and I've seen this, not to throw Open Door under the bus, because they, in my opinion, they offer a great service for somebody that wants convenience.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen this with all my work with hedge funds throughout the years, where they'll come in and lock down the property, but then we go through inspections and they hit them hard with another, deduction. That could be $5,000, $10,000. I've seen them, not with Open Door specifically, but with other hedge funds where they're coming in with asking $25,000, from, inspections that it's like, dude, this is $1,000 worth of stuff, but they've got them locked down. They're probably a heavier leverage position. do you see any of that taking place?
Actually, no. I mean, an inspection is what it is, right? So I certainly have had some where it's been a very legitimate concern, right? Like the roof was leaking or, different things. But to answer your question, it's not a strategy of theirs. I know a lot of companies, they literally go in planning on offering strong so they can win the offer. Halfway through, when it's too late for the sellers, then they really try and gouge them. That's not what Home Partners does. I've seen them request repairs here and there if they're
Just like any buyer would.
Yeah, exactly, just like any buyer. But I mean, they don't gouge. They'll ask for a very small credit if there's a long list of things to do, but they're very reasonable and very easy to work with. I've never after we got the inspection report back, if there was something we needed to negotiate, I've never had a property with Home Partners fall out of contract because of issues with the inspection that we couldn't get resolved.
Yeah, love it. So then, what do you say when people are saying, because I know that there is, this is kind of part of the art that you had to crack the code on, which is the approval process for the clients, right? And I don't know if that is more around knowing what those requirements are so you can pre-approve the client with a conversation before you shoot them in there. But when agents say, I'm just saying, man, I can't get anybody approved, or I'm having difficult times getting approved.
Yeah.
How are you overcoming that?
Yeah, and that's the number one thing that I have too, frustrations that people have. And I look at it, and this is where, like you were talking about, the mindset, where that really comes in. I had to shift my brain to not be like, okay, because it's very similar to be like, oh, go talk to your lender, find out what you're approved for, then I'll take you out to see houses. But it's different. This isn't just like, okay, go fill out the application. If you're approved, then we'll go look at houses. It's a 180-degree difference, right? We have to almost kind of look at it like the pre underwriters. I walk through every step of the application with them. I ask them questions, because just filling out one thing wrong or not understanding a question or depending on what type of income docs they need or 100 other things, if they don't do it right the first time, if they get denied, they cannot reapply for at least 6 months. So that's where it gets really challenging. Like, oh, if only you would have done this, this, and this, then you would have been approved. So I had so many denials at first. That was my big problem too. I was able to get a few people here and there in to apply, and I just couldn't get that dang approval. So I really learned and mastered the requirements, what it takes to get in, all the the loopholes, the little things they don't tell you, and so. That's one thing that has been the most beneficial, is being able to get those people approved up front.
Yeah. And I know when I say I know, I don't know, it's a total assumption, but I'm guessing that each state is probably a little bit different. Yeah. Like I don't know how common pools are in your marketplace, but out here in Phoenix, like everyone has probably different things in different marketplaces. So I know that this might be a little bit different market to market, but what are some of the big things, how do you handle that over the phone so you can kind of pre-qual them before they go through the application process? And before I get into that, because it's a staggering statistic, and I know your husband is he's a man after my own heart. He's a total data number freak like me. Yeah. But you guys are getting 1 out of 6 leads. Like you're closing 1 out of 6. That is freaking gnarly, dude.
I know.
What shows me then that you guys are really good at, pre-qualifying, whether it be through your marketing or when you have those phone conversations. Right. But what are some of the things can you kind of walk us through a few of the things that you kind of learned to have with the conversation?
Yeah.
Before you have them start that approval process.
Yep. So the first thing when I talked to a client, the first issue that I ran into was everyone thinks it's a scam. Right? Because I don't know if you've ever, like back when I was a renter, I can't even tell you how many rent to own things I saw that were, oh yeah, you only need $100,000 down, and then the seller will carry the note for 6 months. Just horrible terms, and they don't quite work out. And a lot of them are bait and switches. So I had a lot of skeptical people, and it really is a matter of being able to explain the program to where it's not only understandable, but where they can see the benefit for them, and they can logically see why the program works. So that was one really, really challenging thing, is because you're a smart guy, you know everything about real estate, right? When I was talking to you about the program when I flew in, Armando sat and he listened to us for a while. About 10 minutes into our conversation, he's like, dude, do you remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. And that's kind of how it is, where I would spend 30 minutes on the phone with somebody just trying to explain this basic program. And now I have it down to like an 18-second pitch, So once you really learn what to say and how to explain it. So the first thing is explaining the program and then seeing the benefits. And then the other hurdle that I ran into a lot was the approval requirements. And it would take me so long to even get a rough idea as if somebody would get approved or not. So I kind of narrowed down the questions to the top reasons why people are denied, and so we can hit those first, and then kind of go from there. So that's kind of how I quickened the process from how it was to begin with.
I mean, it's really no different than if we're trying to convert buyer leads and getting with our lender. I mean, I'm not a lender, that's not my specialty, but I know to get with my lender and find out, okay, hey, like what's the minimum FICO, right? Like, okay, they got to be at their job for 2 years, verification of employment, like there's a few things that we know that we can ask.
Right.
I've always done this with my lender of, hey, like what are 3 or 4 questions that I can ask to dequalify them, if you will,
right,
before I even send them to my lender, right? And it sounds like it's the same thing other than the requirements, because it's a requirement for a tenant, not a buyer. So the requirements are a hell of a lot less. I mean, it's difficult as hell to get a mortgage anymore, right? It has been for some years. Would you say that's I mean, kind of the same process and approach that you've taken?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's where again, the mind shift came in, because I went from like setting people off to my lender and trusting her and knowing that, if they're qualified, will go, and if not, she's going to nurture them the whole way through, to where I took on that role and I would ask the questions, similar to like what a lender was, kind of like what you were saying, like the hard stops, right? Like no felonies in the prior 6 years, no registered sex offenders. Like those are hard stops. Like I don't care what your credit is or whatever, like those will disqualify you. But rather than sending them off to my lender and letting them take care of the lending side, that's now my job, right? So that's now where I jump in. I ask them the questions. I ask them about what type of employment history they have, how they get paid. If they get paid in cash, they deposit their money, they're going to need to see A, B, C, and D to show your proof of income. A lot of times, I don't know about everyone else's market, but in our market a lot, we have a lot of multifamily homes. People that'll be living with their mother and father-in-law, or their brother and sister-in-law. They'll combine to kind of pool their resources. And so with that, there's different ways that if there's 4 adults that are all contributing to the income, there's different ways that you can apply and submit the income to weigh it in their favor while still complying with all of Home Partners' rules.
Yep. Love it. So then when it comes to the, because I mean, this, when we first started talking about this is one of the questions I had for you as well, of conveying it to the consumer, right, to the person that would be renting to doing the rent to own, not Home Partners America, but that it isn't too good to be true. Because it sounds, if I just always try to put myself in their shoes, and you called me about a program, I was like, nah, dude, there's got to be like, what's the, what's the catch? Come on, like, give me the catch, right? Like, how, because how have you overcome that?
So really, people are skeptical by nature, I think, and just giving them all the right information is really all it takes. I'm not pitching them. I'm not selling them. I'm not, pouring it on thick. All I have to do is educate them on the program and make them understand that all it is Home Partners buying a house they pick for cash. We close, they live in it. If they want to buy it, great. If not, here are the rental terms. I mean, it's the easiest, most cut and dry thing once you understand it and you can explain that to them. Once you explain it, and it's funny because just like Armando, I can see it in their voice. Like I can hear it in their voice, and they're like, oh, and they get it and they're excited and they're eager. And that's really fun. But yeah, once you explain it and they kind of get what happens and what the process is, then they're very excited. It's a good thing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Love it. Awesome stuff. So then, I'm just kind of looking down, going through some of these stats that Ben shot over for your business. And one that I just saw that blows my mind is, you guys have spent $115 total on ad spend. But you've made $321,364 in commissions.
Yeah. Well, and the ad spend actually was zero. I'm going to give Ben a hard time for this. It was zero. He's like, well, if we're doing this good with free ads, I wonder what we could do with Facebook ads. Cause he's like a wizard at those, right? So I'm like, no, I have a zero ad spend. Like, that's my thing. Like, I'm doing fine. Leave me alone. Let's just try it. So I know it's $100 or whatever, but it was zero.
Yeah. Well, and he did, right. The 321,000 is
How cool is
what
that?
has been made thus far, but he did put of the 115 total spend, you have 36,000 right now in commissions in the pipe that have been correlation to that 115 ad spend. And, the ROI is just freaking gnarly. And,
I know.
because if we look about it, especially, dude, it's getting, when I hear people over the last few years say, oh, it's the greatest economy's ever seen, my kind of combat to that is always, for whom?
Right.
Right. I'm like, home prices are like, in almost every market, the local's been priced out of the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right. Homes are more, cars are more, everything's more.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know anybody in the corporate world that's not like either an entrepreneur or in sales, right.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know anybody else that is getting raises and making more money during these times.
Right.
So it's inevitable to see more and more rentals and more tenants, right. Just people need rooftops and now they're heading. This is, just another option for them. I don't know how many, I know Ben gave the stats somewhere in here. So he said 43 million households in the US are renters, 109 million rental residents. There's no shortage of
Right.
tenants. And, and I know every market's different, but I'm looking at this. And when Armando and the league, dialed this in, thanks to you and your training, I told them, my guys, especially in a market like ours where it's a melting pot, everybody's coming from somewhere else. Because when you're moving, especially to a new area, right, you're like, well, man, I don't want to get stuck necessarily buying, but if, right, like you got to test the area out, but then I love it because you have that option to buy.
Yes.
Right? And the option not to buy too.
Right.
So it's kind of the best of all worlds for the consumer. Now, from that, because they have the option to buy, how does the buy process work? Is this something that's like preset, or is it just based on market value at the time? How does that work, and how is that disclosed to the tenant?
That's a good question. So home partners, they will give you the purchase price of the home up front. No matter what they negotiate or figure out, they will tell the tenant the exact purchase price of what the home will be up front. If it appreciates, that's still the purchase price. If it depreciates, that's still the purchase price. And they're very transparent. So when they give you your lease agreement, there's a grid that tells you year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. It tells you your exact rent and the exact purchase price for all 5 years. The rent and the purchase price increase by, I believe it's 3, maybe 4% a year, which in our market is you'd walk into some equity because we're growing at around 7 to 11%. So most people that I've talked to that I've closed in the last year that are buying the home, they're walking into equity. They'll call me, they'll ask for a value, and with that set purchase price, I walk into $33,000 in equity in like 14 months when he bought the home. And then all they do is they just qualify for traditional financing, buy the home from home partners at the agreed upon price, and done and done.
Yeah, love it. And as you mentioned before, this was a company that was built out of circumstance of the last recession,
right?
Which it seems that all the best companies are, right? And it's just proof that they know how to move, shift, shake, and adapt. Would you say they have 16,000 homes throughout the country? So they have deep pockets. They're not slowing down. They're prepared for this. So as we see, I just got an email from Open Door saying that they've seized all buying during these times, right? So these guys, the opportunity is endless. And, last year, and this is as you were cracking the code, you did just over 10 million last year. This year on track to do 20 million. It's just insane. It's really limitless of the opportunity. And what's so cool about it is this is just another option in addition to your other business that you're doing, right? Like when you're doing an open house, it's just another vehicle, right, of offering to people that maybe aren't in a position to buy or whatever it may be, right? In the referral business, and then like you mentioned, the other 50% are buying the homes, which you don't get paid on if they do decide to buy, and that's okay because the other 50% are buying through you because you have such a great relationship because you provided a solution and solved the problem that nobody else did or could.
Yeah. And I mean, the referrals that I get on these are ridiculous because I'm offering something that nobody else is offering, right? That's why, I mean, being an agent is awesome and I love it. But I mean, again, it's a fight. There's a dozen agents lined up for every single person. We've all had it where, you talk to somebody that you just got a lead on and they're like, oh, you're like the third agent that's called me. And it gets to be a really, kind of murky waters as far as that goes. But when you, when it is a situation like this, where it's helping a completely different demographic and a completely different type of person, I mean, they are so excited and they're so thrilled. I get probably within a few days of just going under contract on their house, I will typically get at least one referral from a right to purchase client because they're so excited. Everybody, like if you think right now, right, just take 10 seconds and just think in the last however many months, in the last 6 months, how many people have you talked to that this would work for, right? People that are relocating, people that have less than perfect credit, bankruptcy, a short sale. I had some with identity theft, medical bankruptcies. There's so many people, like anybody that's out there actively like hitting the pavement and has a pipeline, I guarantee can think of at least a few off the top of their head. This would help. So if you have your, your business and you're doing awesome and you're kicking ass and taking names and keep doing it, but keep this in mind as the safety net for anybody that falls through the traditional type of marketing and types of things that you do. Remember this for those people that this would still help and this would still work for, because it's not your whole business or none of your business. It can very easily subsidize for those people that it could help.
Yeah, love it. And then you can take it to the next level and go after it very hard with running specific ads to this,
Right.
going after, if you wanted to reinstitute calls, right, calling every tenant, right, that's in your marketplace, whatever it may be, another option, right? Because at the end of the day, most Americans still have the dream of home ownership,
right?
Right? And if we look, so it's that bridge. I absolutely love it. So, with all of this, because you guys have been exploding with this, and you're kind of the top award winner, so forth with Home Partners America, and you have so many people reaching out to you, just like a couple of my top agents did, about the training. You decided to create some training around this. So can you just talk to us about the training that you've created and what that looks like for anybody that wants to really learn this and not have to go through the year and a half of trial and error and trying to figure this out and go through the headaches that you had to go through to figure this out?
Yeah. So it's kind of slowly while I was going along the process, kind of, training people on my team. And then it got to be so redundant that I did start to just put everything together as far as the trainings. So basically I took every hurdle, every roadblock, everything that made me want to pull my hair out along the way, and everything that caused somebody to get denied or got an offer to be rejected, or if I submitted the packet wrong and the offer didn't come over in time. It's all those things that you have to just learn. So for example, we already talked about the approval thing a little bit, right? So submitting a property, like here's just one small example. When you submit a property, you submit the photos from the MLS, right? Like the photo report, and you upload that. But they need to see a photo of every room in the house: front yard, backyard, garage, every room, and then every single bedroom, right? So there was one time where I submitted the property, I got everything done. It was highest and best. It was very, time restrictive. And so I called homeowners and said, hey, where's my offer? And they said, you need to go back and get a picture of the 2 bedrooms in the basement. And this was a property 45 minutes away. By the time I went out there, got the pictures, uploaded them, sent them back to Home Partners, they accepted another offer. So because I didn't understand that if the pictures are there, because I knew at the house they were going to submit an offer, I should have just taken pictures right there and then uploaded them, right? Like I know that now. And there's a lot of like little teeny things all along the way of the process that I've just mastered as far as getting the job done, getting properties sold, and that's kind of what the training is on, is how to streamline, go straight and narrow and get directly to the goal instead of having to skate around it. So
yeah. Well, and I had the pleasure of being a fly on the wall for about an hour or so as you guys were, training Armando and Nalika on this. And it's like you mentioned, the photos, but then it's, how do you write the ads? Where do you place them? What's the follow-up? Like you guys had to rechange out all of your drip follow-ups,
Yeah.
everything, from all full extents of it, so just like anything, and I always get asked, like when I'm on podcasts or whatever, that I'm being interviewed on, people ask me like, what's the number one most important thing to creating success? I'm always like, to understand that there's not one thing that allows you to create success.
Right.
There's a shit ton, right? Like it's a process. It's a, it's a playbook,
Yeah,
right?
you know.
Right. And you've created a playbook for this program
Yeah.
and in the training, from everything that I've seen from it. And, we're just starting to get my team all through the training. Cause I'm telling you guys right now, and again, I know that this will be out there, but most of you people watching this probably during these times that we're going through and things that we're preparing. It's not like we're dropping all of our traditional business by any means, right? But we're preparing for the economic blowback of this. So, we're making sure that we're set up on a huge level and have the infrastructure set up for short sales, right? We're applying like crazy, getting back into the REO game for when that comes, right? This is just something that we're doing. We're blowing up and scaling up this Home Partners for America, program. And it's not that we're stopping open houses and so forth, but there is going to be a time with this economic blowback. Because I think in all of our markets right now, it's like restaurants are closed. Well, just think of it, just one industry, just restaurants. How many servers, right? I mean, that's going to be, because if you look at most landlords out there, most landlords are just, they own one or two.
Yeah.
Right now, they're going to have all these tenants defaulting, right? Well, the government's saying, oh, you can't evict tenants during this time. Well, who's going to get punished with that?
Right.
Right? Like there's so like we need to be prepared. A lot of the traditional things that we've been doing over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years are going to work less and less, and we need to readapt and adjust to programs like this that allow us to be recession proof. And you can 100% be recession proof in your business, just like Kim has done with her business by doing HPA, by knowing short sales, knowing REO, all of those different things. So I love it. So, Kim, if somebody's watching this or listening to this, that is interested in learning more about the training, where's the best place to go to learn more about this?
Yeah. So if you go to rtpmastery.com, so it's for the right to purchase program. So rtpmastery.com, and and go there.
All right. So RTP Mastery.
Gonna pop in.
Yep.
What's up, Josh? How you doing?
What's up? Good, brother. Good to see you, man.
You too, man. You know what's funny is I just walked into the office while you're doing that. There's 13 million restaurant workers in the United States right now.
Yeah.
That are going to run into this garbage. So, I'm a numbers nerd. So anyway, I'm going to get out of your way. The RTP Mastery is where all that's where we're building all Kim's information. So.
Perfect. Awesome. So rtpmastery.com. Anybody watching, listen, we'll make it super easy. Anyway, have a link where you can just scroll below, check that out. Highly recommend that you guys do. This is the kind of stuff that you must be doing right now to protect your business, to be able to continue to create opportunities for yourself and your family. And you guys, I've never wanted to just survive. Like who the hell wants to just skate through and survive? I don't want to be one of these guys that, I survived a tough time. Right? Like we all know that there's more millionaires and billionaires made during tough times and good times. Like I want to freaking thrive. And if anybody's interested in thriving, man, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be adapting to. And what I love about this, not that of course I love REO and, short sales. And there's always a consistency of that business. But when foreclosures are up and the volume spikes and increases, right? Ben was just telling me a story of talking to somebody, one of his good friends, like last week, that even though in 2019, one of the strongest markets we've ever seen, or I think we just ended the longest bull market we've ever seen. So that still did 30 million in REO that in 2019. So there's always that consistency, but what I love about the Home Partners of America program is this is something that doesn't need to there's not going to be ups and downs, right? It's something that you can always be scaling up regardless of the economic situation. So it's freaking badass.
Yeah, that's so, in fact, I don't know if we mentioned this or not before, but actually just today, I got an email from them saying they're going strong. They've been planning for this. They're ready. They're still buying. This is when their business, thrives the most. And so it was a good email to get with all the other, like you were saying, red door and everything's kind of stopping buying, putting everything on hold. So it was really refreshing to kind of, for me, to kind of reiterate the faith and the belief that I have in the company, and that they're doing exactly what they should be doing during these times.
Yeah, love it. All right, you guys that are watching, listen, I know I ended a podcast with this, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information isn't power. It's taking that information, taking massive action on it that gives you the power to create the life that you know you want and deserve. And Kim shared so many amazing pieces of advice with you guys today. Take something that you learned, take immediate action. So again, you can create that life that you know you want and deserve. And Kim, I truly appreciate you taking time out of your busy day and out of your life. I know we're all in this quarantine state right now, locked in our homes. And the fact that you showed up to share all of this with us, I mean, it shows me your commitment to your success as well as your commitment to serving and helping others, and shows so much about your character. And I just truly, truly honor and appreciate you being here with us and sharing all this with us.
It was a pleasure. I really appreciate it. It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
100%. All right, you guys, we will see you next time. Peace.